You know, it's been a long time since an indie game has really resonated with me. Over a decade ago, Minecraft subverted my whole understanding of what a video game could be, and a few years after that, Octodad 2 pulled me into a weird yet charming world that required navigation with clunky controls that were oddly satisfying to master. And that's not to mention other iconic indie titles from the 2010s, such as Undertale or Five Nights at Freddy's. But in the 2020s, I haven't been seeing as much indie games that hit in quite the same way. There's been some successful horror games such as Poppy Playtime, and even some great platformers that I still have yet to play, but it wasn't until this year, 2023, that I feel we finally broken new ground. I'm of course talking about a wonderful little game called Pizza Tower. Starting public development in 2018 and releasing 5 years later on Steam, Pizza Tower is one of those indie games that just hits different, and in this video I want to try and figure out why. So without further ado, let's dig in. This is my review of Pizza Tower. Peppino Spaghetti, an Italian pizza chef just trying to manage his small business, is suddenly approached by a giant sentient pizza called Pizza Face, who tells him that he's going to blow up his pizzeria. Understandably, Peppino isn't having it and races to Pizza Face's tower to beat him up and save his restaurant. Undoubtedly a simple premise, and I wouldn't have it any other way. This short, goofy intro perfectly explains what's happening, why you should care about the protagonist, and motivates the player to try and achieve a goal. The art style in Pizza Tower is one of the more unique ones I have yet to see in a video game. While each frame of every sprite is drawn in such a Microsoft Paint looking way, in motion it's made clear just how well animated they are. A lot of the characters move as if they've been pulled right out of a Warner Brothers cartoon, and to say the least, that's no small feat, especially given the resolution and limited colors. And of course we can't talk about the presentation without also mentioning the soundtrack, which is one of the qualities of this game that has taken the internet by storm. Pizza Time especially seems to resonate with people. I haven't seen this many remixes and covers pop up since Megalovania. There are a lot of great tracks besides Pizza Time though, with some of my personal highlights being Oregano Desert, Waste Yard, and the Lap 2 theme, which we'll talk about later. The simple yet motivating setup, the ridiculous art style, the amazing soundtrack, and the unapologetically goofy tone of Pizza Tower is already enough to make it a monumental indie game, but what really makes it come together is, of course, the gameplay. To get one thing out of the way first, Pizza Tower is inspired by the Wario Land series. If I can be fully honest, I have very little experience with these games. In fact, my first time playing them was after I had already beaten this game, so my perspective might differ from fans from that series. With this said, I think Pizza Tower stands on its own merits, so I'll largely be talking about the game in a vacuum rather than constantly comparing it to its spiritual predecessors. So let's get into it. Pizza Tower looks like your typical 2D platformer, but the second you start playing, you'll soon realize it's far from traditional. There are a lot of reasons for this, but the most striking of which is easily the moveset. Peppino's primary move is the Mach Dash, which is performed by holding down the right trigger while moving. When he reaches top speed, he'll be able to break through metal blocks, defeat enemies, and even run on walls. However, we have a lot of other moves here too, such as the Grab, which can pick up enemies and power-ups, the Taunt, which can parry certain enemies' attacks, the Body Slam, which acts like a downward Mach Dash, and okay, there are a lot of these, so I probably shouldn't try to list them all. The point is, Peppino has an extremely large and versatile moveset, and that results in this game having a super high skill ceiling, which is great, especially when it comes to this game's ranking system. We'll touch on that later. The progression in Pizza Tower relies on 5 key collectibles in each level, those being the toppings. You don't have to collect every single one of the game, but you need a certain amount on each floor of the tower to open the boss gate, which will give you a key that allows you to progress. This means that the stages in this game are largely exploration based, with a main path allowing you to beat the level that branches into other areas that hold toppings and other secrets. But when you've explored the level and reached the end, suddenly, it's pizza time. Similar to the escape sequence in the later Wario Land games, Pizza Time requires you to run all the way back to the beginning of the stage within a set amount of time, testing the knowledge you've gained by exploring the level. If you fail, you have to start all over. However, you won't be going back through the exact same series of rooms, as sometimes there are these blocks that will toggle when Pizza Time is initiated. The effect that these have range from slightly changing your path to outright leading you through entirely new and previously inaccessible areas. Once you reach the exit, you get to take all the toppings you've collected and move on to the next level. However, However, if you replay the level, you may notice something that wasn't there before, that being the Lap 2 portal. When you enter it during pizza time, you'll go through it yet again, this time with this insanely energetic song playing in the background. To get the best rank in a stage, that being P rank, you have to collect nearly everything in the level and complete Lap 2, all while keeping a combo going throughout the entire level. And let me tell you, this is hard. I've only P ranked 2 stages, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to do it for the others. With that said though, not only is it possible, it's also rewarding. While the frustration can be overwhelming when you're on your 10th try and you lose your combo late into the level, the adrenaline rush when you're in the final stretch more than makes up for it, and the bombastic music and animation you're treated to at the end screen is the cherry on top. I've been very positive about Pizza Tower so far, and for good reason. This is a very good game. But even so, I am a reviewer, and I wouldn't be doing my due diligence if I didn't also talk about some things that I didn't like about this game. The most obvious one for me is most of the bosses. They have these patterns that are hard to memorize, and they often throw in random projectiles that completely mess up your flow. On top of that, many of these fights have an extra phase that basically just amount to doing everything again, but with a slight twist. And while the boss's health does refill, yours does not. I did find Pepperman and Vigilante to be tolerable on my second playthrough, but the noise and fake Peppino are still an absolute chore. Another problem I have with this game is actually not Gustavo. In fact, Gustavo and Brick are actually a really fun character duo to play as. My real problem with these characters is that you only get to play with them in 2 levels. Considering they have such a diverse moveset, I'm sure there is a huge skill ceiling here that unfortunately just isn't reaching its potential. Other than these 2 major gripes though, the only other issues I have with Pizza Tower really just amount to nitpicking. I wish there was better signage indicating where the main path of a level is, some of the transformations make P ranking a no-go for me, and some smaller mechanics like the combo meter and the max speed dash aren't very well explained. But now that I've talked about the worst parts of this game, I want to talk about the part that has solidified its status as one of my new favorite games of all time. I am, of course, referring to the final boss and ending. Spoiler alert, skip here if you don't want to see him. At long last, Peppino reaches the top of the tower and has to face up against Pizza Face. After the first phase of the boss fight though, something unexpected happens. Pizza Face opens up to reveal Pizza Head, the real mastermind behind this whole scenario. I freaking love Pizza Head's design. He takes the rubber hose influence that this game's style has to the absolute extreme, outright breaking the 4th wall and defying the laws of time and space simply by goofing around. But anyway, after you seemingly beat up Pizza Head for good, he gets right back up. And what? I have to fight these guys again? But don't worry, Peppino is just as mad as you are. He screams in rage and completely obliterates every boss in what might just be the most well-done boss rush I've ever experienced. What makes this phase work so well is the fact that the game isn't making you replay the entirety of every boss. Instead, every time you land a hit, Peppino completely destroys half of their health bar, making for a quick, exciting, and satisfying boss rush. This also helps justify the difficulty of the previous bosses, as now your anger is being siphoned towards teaching these guys a lesson once and for all. And finally, we have the final phase with Pizza Head, ending with a ridiculous cutscene of Peppino pile driving his adversary into the very tower that has tormented him for this entire game. Oh, but we're not quite done yet. That blow was so hard that now the entire tower is crumbling, and it's a race to get out in one of the most clever twists I've ever seen in a video game. Remember those pizza time blocks that I was talking about earlier in the review? These also happen to populate the hub world, which raises curiosity as to what these are even for. Well, as it turns out, this whole time, the very tower itself was in fact one giant level. The crumbling Tower of Pizza is one massive pizza time sequence, with the player racing through the hub world they've come to know and love throughout the entire game. As Peppino reaches the exit, with everyone he's met and beaten up along the way coming with him, the tower crumbles, everyone escapes, and the credits roll. Pizza Tower is a miracle of a game. It hits so many right notes when it comes to tone, gameplay, and presentation, and I can tell the devs really put a lot of passion into this project. This game is unapologetically silly, and it works so well in its favor. Many indie games rely on cynical humor for their tone, and while this can work, I appreciate Pizza Tower for breaking away from this approach. Instead of feeling like it needs to be meta or ironic, this game fully embraces the ridiculous cartoon cliches that it builds its entire world upon, and that extends the gameplay as well. Pizza Tower is a must-play, and I look forward to future projects from Tour de Pizza. If you want more reviews of fast-paced platformers, check out the playlist on screen and subscribe for more videos just like this. You can also become a member for just $1 per month to join the Spotland Discord server and gain exclusive emojis to use in the comments. Stay tuned, thanks for watching, and as always, enjoy life.